There were supposed to be ape sounds that I had recorded so he could be scared, and the recorder didn't work, so it was me going.
Hallo zusammen bei die Filmfabrik. Ich bin, wie ihr sehen könnt, nicht in der Filmfabrik, sondern in der Lanxess Arena, um hier schon mal so zu checken, wie sieht das eigentlich aus, wenn die Videodays jetzt hier bald sind. Aber auch wenn das alles stressig ist und wir viel planen, war ich noch in Berlin für euch und habe unter anderem Andy Serkis getroffen zum neuen Film von Planet der Affen. Richtig cooles Interview, auch noch mit Keri Russell und dem Regisseur. Und was gibt es für euch jetzt?
Hi Andy, it's so nice to meet you because it's amazing how you create those digital characters just with your light dots in your face. How do you do that? What's your secret?
You know, in many ways, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there is no great secret. There's absolutely no great secret. It's just acting. That's all that I do, and there is really no mystery around it, other than the technology is called performance capture, but it is a technology. You know, it's a bunch of cameras, a different set of cameras that it's all around us, and we wear head-mounted cameras. But in terms of acting, it's exactly the same process as playing a live-action character in a movie. It's you know, it's embodying the character, finding the psychology and the voice for the character and the physicality. So it's you know, what we do on set is exactly the same.
The mood in your movie changed very, very often from optimistic to pessimistic and back again and back again and back again. What do you think is the most difficult aspect in finding peace between two parties? So it's for both of you, of course.
Well, for me, the way I was approaching it had to do with empathy and the degree to which each character could see themselves in the other character. And you know, in a way, the story is really about two families. There's a human family that has gone through a great tragedy and it's trying to heal itself. It's trying to kind of come back together. And there's an ape family that's sort of in its ascendancy. They're just beginning. And they're both trying to survive. And whenever they view each other as other, there's danger, because it means, and this is the idea, the nature of conflict. What we really wanted to explore was an anatomy of violence. Why are we drawn constantly into conflict? And why can't it be avoided? The great thing about this story was we know that it's not avoided because it doesn't become Planet of the Humans and the Apes. That was a given. The 1968 film is Planet of the Apes. So we knew that was the trajectory, and it was about looking at the intimate details of the hope for how it could have worked out and the tragedy of why it didn't work out. And it was that interplay that we were after.
Okay, so you don't need more imagination than for other roles, or you need more imagination?
No. I mean, obviously, if you're playing an ape, then you have to do a certain amount of research, you know, because you're going to be physically, you have to get that accurate, and you have to observe, you know, and study the biology and the anatomy of an ape, or the behaviour of an ape, and so on. But in fact, for something like this, it's much more about character. You know, Caesar is an ape. Yes, he's a chimpanzee, and when I played him in the last movie, obviously I was playing him all the way through from an infant to a revolutionary leader. I had to work out how to make him grow and evolve. But the fact of the matter is, because of he's an ape, yes, but he has received this drug that has made him evolve at a very, very rapid rate. I always played Caesar as a human in an ape's skin. That conflict is really perhaps the most important thing about the character.
Luckily, I mean, Andy, I had never done anything like this before. I mean, Matt and I kind of we're interested in the same things, mostly. Like, we want people stories, and I think I was nervous about that, but the truth is, the motion capture is just the same as doing a scene. You're just doing a scene with Andy, who's a remarkable, very open, accessible actor, but he is wearing this camera that is capturing his performance. I mean, that's literally what it is. So it wasn't as hard as I thought. There is one pass during the scene that Andy is not in the scene, and you have to sort of recreate his face, and he's kind of off on the side going, now I'm moving to the right. This is when I was stroking your arm, or like whatever, you know. And that is unusual, but it's everything about acting is pretending. You're pretending you're shooting in the war. It's not really a war going on, you know, it's just part of what we do.
So Caesar seems to be very wise, so with more human feelings than other characters in the movie. Why is it so hard not to divide between good and evil, and why is Caesar able to do this?
I mean, the thing that Caesar has learnt is he is a very empathetic character. And that is because his experience of human beings was good. He was brought up by a human. His father, in effect, was human, James Franco's part in Rise. And he was brought up with an enormous amount of love, and that is his worldview, that not all humans are bad, whereas some of the other apes have had horrendous experiences in the hands of human beings and have been tortured or abused by them in laboratories. And so Caesar is in a privileged position in many ways to be able to think of humans as not necessarily the enemy. And I think that's why it's such a complex and difficult, as a leader, he is in a very difficult position for his own kind, because they don't understand why he is putting them at risk by not going out on an offensive to defend them, by not being preemptive. But he just knows instinctively that will cause the destruction of his family, not only his family, but his bigger family, the culture, the ape culture.
So if we take a look on the world situation, all the war and stuff like that, why is the movie so important to see, okay, there's no good, there's no evil, there are just families who want to protect themselves? Why is this movie now and this time so important?
Well, the Apes franchise has always been, well regarded because it's a very intelligent take on for a blockbuster movie. Of course, they're entertainment, but actually they allow you to say things about ourselves. I mean, the apes are us, of course, and we're seeing more about ourselves. And particularly this movie, I think, in this particular moment in time, I think is a really important movie, and I think Matt Reeves has made it a movie for our times because the themes in this are about empathy and prejudice and the necessity to keep talking and finding a peaceful solution to escalating conflict, that violence does breed violence. And really it's how far would you go to protect your family to the exclusion of other people's families. Because of war, civil war, breakdown of regime change, they're always the people or the species that gets affected are the innocent, are the families.
I think the movie is very, very different in comparison to other typical summer season movies. How much courage did you need to fulfill this vision of this very dark and tough and deep movie?
Wow.
That's all you know.
That's very nice. But, the thing about it is that I was more afraid. I'd been offered a number of blockbuster films, and I turned them all down because I couldn't figure out my own personal way in, and that's really about creative self-preservation. If I don't have an emotional way in, I don't know where to put the camera. I don't know how to talk to the actors. I don't know how to tell the story. And so I thought this was actually more than courage. It was really, it gave me courage to have the opportunity to tell a story under the guise of this kind of story. Planet of the Apes is really unique because the metaphor allows you to tell a story about character, about our nature, about who we are. And that's really unique in a summer blockbuster because usually it's about spectacle driving the story. But if I was making a movie that was only about spectacle, I'd have no idea what to do. I would make the worst movie ever. So I'm really grateful. That would take much more courage for me to have to try to make that movie because I wouldn't, they'd say, where should the camera go? And I go, I don't know. So this to me was really about feeling connected to a story that I wanted to tell. And to me, I was just thrilled that the studio had the courage to let me tell the story.
So for the blockbuster audience, everyone knows you as Gollum or as Caesar. When can we see you as a person, as Andy again?
Never.
Never again, why?
Never. I've disappeared inside the digital realm and I'm never coming out. No. No, look, I play...
We see it on the screen, and so why don't we see the person?
Only because by virtue of what you're talking about, I'd rather be involved in projects that are really well written and have brilliant characters. And these films that I've been involved with are those. And you're also reaching a very big audience. And so you can connect with an audience in a through true acting. You can really connect through these characters. And that's what's important to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, if there was a really great live action role that was offered to me, then I would take it. But these roles have offered so much more in terms of the acting challenge, and I became an actor to be able to play characters and hopefully communicate with an audience, not just to be recognised on the street. So.
What's your work on that? You don't see everything, but you're just able to say, Kerry, come on, move. Move right.
Kerry, he's an ace.
Do this. He just does that. He just
Well, you know, well, actually, funny enough, that is literally
That
sometimes
is
what I have
what
to
you
do.
do.
Like for example, Jason Clarke is walking up
So
the mountain,
funny.
and there's no one surrounding him. There were
Yes.
supposed to be ape sounds that I had recorded so he could be scared, and the recorder didn't work, so it was me going inside the microphone, just
did that
screaming at the guy
so many times.
And he was a trooper and acting very scared, and I don't know if he was scared of me or if that, I don't know what was going on, but there are weird things you do. That would happen in Cloverfield. I used to, you know, they'd be running around and I'd be going, roar! And yeah, it was ridiculous. So there's just a degree of playfulness and fantasy that enters into the making of any of this. But we tried to make all of it as real as possible. And one of the great things about the technology, which I thought might be a obstacle to the intimacy, is that it's just a camera that records their performances. So other than that, actually Kerry, for the most part, is playing against Andy Serkis. It's like staging a scene between two actors. The fact that he's not an ape and that he's not an actor is sort of irrelevant because they're both playing characters in a story. And so that part, it's actually a lot more real than you would think. We shot in real locations. We pushed the technology to be shot in locations that had never been done before. We shot in the rain, we shot in the freezing cold, all to give that sense of reality. So there's always a little bit of imagination and a little bit of reality that's part of making these movies. But any movie, as Kerry says.
Thank you very much.
Ich hoffe, euch hat das Interview gefallen und wenn ihr das schön findet, dass ich immer so durch die Weltgeschichte reise, um Interviews zu machen, empfehlt doch gerade diese Videos vielleicht mal euren Freunden weiter, teilt die Videos, würde ich mich extrem drüber freuen und wer wissen will, was hat das eigentlich hiermit auf sich, dann checkt mal das Video bei Sendertime, Road to Video Days. Das erste, da bin ich mich auch immer mit dabei. Ne? Sendertime ist ja noch ein Kanal, bei dem wir am Start sind. Und da gibt es auch Infos, ob es noch Karten gibt für die Video Days und Co. und wie wir uns da sehen werden. Unglaublich toll. Wer schon Karten hat oder darauf keine Lust hat, der checkt doch die Review zu Planet der Affen Revolution aus. Habe ich euch hier verlinkt. Und dann sehen wir uns wieder. Das sage ich jetzt so vor gefühlt 15.000 Menschen. Sehen wir uns wieder bald bei einer neuen Filmkritik hier bei die Filmfabrik mit mir, dem Dominik.